Well, well. Hello, hello. Hope you don't mind. I'm eating. I'm having like, you know what KFC bowls are? It's like the equivalent to that, but made by Banquet. And it's really good. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Philip for the one gifted membership. Who'd that go to? Caroline Saxby. Very cool. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's see here. Seven months ago. So January? I remember it was right after Christmas. Kent went live on his Facebook to address this documentary, my documentary. And he had basically spent, I don't know how long, an hour and a half telling everybody that I misled him, and he was basically, I mean, you'll get to see. And I got really irritated. I got really irritated with it because he lied. He lied a lot. So you will see here that I was quite agitated at first, but I said some things that needed to be said. So I figure I hid this because I didn't want my channel to become this drama thing. I just wanted to kind of save it for all the documentary stuff. But I figured that all of you would like to see something that you probably haven't seen before. Also, that brings me to the members. Probably later today, after we're done with this, I'm gonna upload a interview that I had with somebody who used to work with Kent. It was an unplanned interview. I didn't know that this person. Originally, I had set an interview with a paranormal investigator who came out to Kent's house before he had the YouTube channel. That was who I was supposed to be interviewing. But this guy was like, "Hey, I used to work with him, and you know, maybe I can help you out too." So I went ahead and interviewed him. None of it made it to the documentary, but I figure for you members, it might be a nice little perk to watch an interview and let this guy just tell you. He used to work with Kent at a restaurant, and there's a guy that we bring up in this video that I'm going to share here with you, named Benjamin Elliott. You all know him as Rural Chaos TV. He's one of my moderators. He pops in every now and then. He used to work with Kent at the same restaurant. That's how he met Kent. So, all that aside, I'm going to go ahead and kill the music. And I might kill this camera screen here because I'm already at the bottom. But maybe not. I don't know. Two of me on the screen at once. It might be too much Jimmy for some of you. But here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and play this out. Let's make sure. Let me make sure that my, yeah, that you can hear it. So, there it is. All right. Here we go. I'm sorry if this isn't your kind of thing. Believe me, it's not my kind of thing either. I don't want to do anything else like this. So please don't unsubscribe. Just, these are things that I felt needed to be addressed. Hi. So, there's been some drama unfolding because of this documentary, and because certain people, not on my end, but certain people are adamant that I'm just trying to cause drama, and that's all this is. That's all this documentary is about, is drama, apparently. Which is pretty incredible that they're saying these things, since all 3 of the episodes haven't been released. The problem is Kent Burris and his followers are upset because I gave David Sear a platform to talk about his side of the story. I gave Kent Burris's old agent, Benjamin Elliott from Rural Chaos TV, I gave him a platform to discuss his side of the story. I found out that nobody in GOCM knew anything about him, and it's evident to me as to why. There is a link in the description that goes to Benjamin's response to this live stream that Kent Burris had on December 30th at 6 p.m., where Kent basically rambles on and on and on about how this is all about money, this is all about drama, and that I'm calling him a liar. Now, I had not been calling Kent a liar. I had been very mindful of not using that word to describe him. But at this point, I'm going to say the gloves are fucking off. The gloves are off now. There's been some things that have happened here in this live stream where he is basically trying to make some things seem a certain way, and they're not that way. So originally I was just going to put up a reaction video to the live stream, which that is what a lot of this is. However, he just rambles on, and he goes on about a couple of things that just don't amount to shit whatsoever. However, there was something in there that I wanted to address first, before we get into the reaction. It's been brought to my attention that Kent believes I sent people over to his house to get an interview, because I'd been asking Kent for an interview, a final interview, to sit down with me and, provide the documentation, provide provide something that is substantial other than word of mouth,
Imposter
to back up
Jimmy.
the claims that you have been making.
Imposter.
And he's flat out denied that. He tried to turn it into something about how it was beneath him to be associated with people that have anything to do with David Sear, and that he just wasn't
The
interested in
microwave's
doing it.
beeping at me. I got a pizza in there.
I have my own thoughts about
Right
that,
back.
which I, in the live reaction, discuss. But first of all, back to the people that went over to his house. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't send anybody over there to his house. That's absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't do that. What happened was, I was trying to get an interview with Dustin Marcia. He's a guy that went over to Kent's house well before the Ghost of Carmel Main channel was created. He had this paranormal group come over and check out his house. I wanted to sit down with Dustin. and have him recount to me how things went while he was over there. And this kid named Jesse, uh, who's young and putting on britches that are a little bit too big. I appreciate the kid's enthusiasm,
Big britches.
but he took it upon himself to go over to the gas station that Kent works at while he was at work and basically
Hey, Denise. And
try to
chat.
get an interview and all this. I knew that it was happening, but I'm not the one who sent him over there. I didn't try to stop it from happening. I was interested to see what would happen, but I'm not the person who sent. I didn't have anything to do with that. I did not send anybody over there. I didn't send anybody over to Kent's house. And not only did he do that.
Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. That's
but
awesome.
then I
$10.
guess,
I appreciate you, brother.
I'm taking Kent's word on this. I guess he was in the GOCM chat and he started causing problems. He started swearing at people and saying all kinds of colorful things. And then he turns around and says, well, I'm a part of that documentary. And it's just not true. And I'm kind of disgusted with the way that this kid has behaved. I had nothing to do with any of that. And I'm the anger that you're seeing, if you're seeing any anger or some sort of distaste, it's towards Jesse at this point. I can't believe he would do that. I don't know the kid. I don't know the kid. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I just don't know the kid. But I never, ever sent anybody over to Kent's house. And then for him to turn around and be in the chat and to be causing problems and to be saying that he was a part of the documentary, I'm gonna, even though I have nothing to do with it, I'm just gonna apologize. I'm gonna apologize on his behalf, because he should fucking know better than to do some shit like that. I think for him, the idea of drama was fun and enticing, and that's what he got involved in it for. And I'm just not interested in that. So I apologize to the GOCM community that happened. It's absolutely there's no excuse for it. And again, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that it's just ridiculous. Now, there's something else that I have to talk about. In this live, Kent goes on. He says some things about how when I approached him, that I told him I was a producer and that I had a production company. And then he also said, Jimmy will probably say that I'm a liar, but I don't have any reason to lie about this. Yeah, you're a fucking liar. Okay. And here's the thing.
I said what I said.
All of my conversation from the very beginning, whenever I first reached out to Kent, from the very beginning, from the first, hey, how are you? Is this an appropriate means to contact you? All until today, from the very first message until the very last message, I have it all saved. Okay. I sent him a bunch of voice messages, and in this video, I'm going to play every single voice message for you. And you're going to see that I never once mentioned anything about being a producer or having a production company. Now, he mentions later that we talked, and actually, hold on. He mentions that he had to look into me a little bit. Okay. Now, here's the thing. He says he doesn't have a reason to lie about this, and then he goes on to say that he dug into me a little bit, right? He wanted to see who I was. Okay, he does have a reason to lie, because he really doesn't have a reason to lie. He could just tell it how it was. But the thing is since I've done such a thorough investigation, which it is thorough, since I've done such a thorough investigation and I've looked into his past and I've purchased a background check and learned about his licenses that he does or does not have, and learned about the jobs, and learned about any businesses that he owns currently or owned in the past. Since I've done extensive research, he's trying to make it seem like he's capable of doing the same thing. But he never did do any of those things. He's just throwing out a facade. This man had no idea. Everything that he says at the beginning of this whole thing is completely fabricated. There's no reason for me to come to him and lie. I didn't have to lie. He just seemed interesting, and I just told him how it was. I have a YouTube channel. My partner Luke, he used to do paranormal investigations. I would like to do a paranormal investigation. I'd like to make a documentary. My whole purpose of making the documentary was I was tired of armchair critics, people who have never done an investigation, people who have never even thought about doing an investigation, people that don't have skills to do any of that stuff, talking shit and acting, just being skeptical and for no reason whatsoever other than just because it goes against their belief system.
It's probably
So I wanted to be somebody who was like most of you out there who have never done
probably
an
feedback from my
investigation
headphones
and always wanted to,
so I can fix it.
and wanted to see what I could find. I wanted to be relatable in that way. So there's no way, and you'll see the proof. There was no way that I ever said to him that I was a producer or that I had a production company or anything like that. That it is completely false. It's a complete lie. And yes, you're a fucking liar. And the reason why you're lying is because you want it to seem like something that it isn't, right? You want to try and paint me as a bad guy, that I misled you. In these voice messages, I say that I think you got something going on. I think it's real. I'd like to come out and experience it for myself.
How are you?
That was true. It remains true because I know now that you have stuff going on. But there was a part of me that was skeptical. And I mean, why would I say that in our first meeting? Why would anybody say that in their first meeting? Hey man, I think you're great, but you might kind of suck. No one's going to do that ever. That's not how it works. That's not proper etiquette. I wanted to get out there. I got out there. And once I got out there, you started displaying characteristics of compulsive liars. And I've dealt with a lot of them. Okay.
I sure have.
Very intimately and very closely, I've dealt with pathological and compulsive liars. And you displayed characteristics and behavior of these types of people. But you didn't know that I had that skill. You didn't know that I had spent my life watching people and learning things about people and being able to see the signs early on, because I keep a tight circle of people that I want to be around. And I have to be very careful about the people that I let into my life. Okay? It's a defense mechanism. And anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. You don't have to have some sort of college degree in order to be able to tell if someone's full of shit. So if there's anybody out there that wants to argue with me about that, you can go get fucked. You might be the types of people who have lots of liars around you in your life and don't know it because you're fucking gullible. Yeah, I'm a little heated about this whole thing. I'll be okay. It's just, this has gone on. At this point, he's grabbing at straws, and he says a bunch of bullshit that just isn't real at all. Bottom line, the only reason why he won't do this interview with me is because he is, I'm just going to say it, he's incapable of coming up with any documentation to...
This is before I even knew about Beardo or anything. Like, I hadn't reached this side of YouTube yet. So, yeah,
I love that. You're showing your yeah, and right. I mean, you don't need a college education to find out if someone's full of shit. You know, it's but these people, even with the thing at the beginning where I apologized to them for Jesse acting like an ass, you know. No one came to me and said, "Hey, that was really big of you" or anything. They just they hate me. They hate me. They hate me because they ain't me. To back up his claims, he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have it, and he can't get it. And he tells stories that it's impossible to get that documentation because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because it's not real. That's my argument. He's preying on the ignorance of people and hoping that they won't question him. And the moment that someone questions him, well, then they're labeled the bad guy. It's classic compulsive liar and narcissistic behavior. It's classic, and you can't hide it. If you guys need to see anything else, like I said, all of the texts and all of the stuff that I referenced, they're going to be in the link in the description below. You can see it all there, and you can see for yourself the things that Kent would talk about. The money, actually, the fame, the business aspect, which he claims he never wanted to have anything to do with.
Post that link
so
right now.
have fun, honestly. And if you guys are avid followers of Kent and you're just here because you're pissed off at me and you want to hear what I have to say, that's fine. That's fine. But do your own research. I'm bringing you documented
I've got a NOS,
facts.
so now you know it's not an imposter.
You can sit here and call it what you want and say that I'm causing drama and that I'm doing nothing but trying to hurt the guy. That was never my intent.
I'll pin that to the top.
I wanted to
So
make
y'all
a
can
documentary.
Read
and
those
then
texts.
This journey that I've gone on is insane. Okay? I never expected to be here yelling at a camera about this shit. I never expected that when I reached out to him in the first place. I had no idea where this was going to go. And just because I allowed multiple parties to speak their minds and speak their side of the story, which everybody deserves their side of the story to be told and heard. That's how a trial works. And while we're not in a court of law, this is being presented to the court of the people. You. And all of the stuff that I have evidence for will be presented. It is Kent's own goddamn fault if he looks less than savory at the end of my documentary, because I gave him every chance and every option to provide me with documentation, and he refused to do it.
What up, Spain?
And he did that because he just simply can't do it. It's all fabricated. At least the things that he can't come up with any documentation for, I'm saying it's bullshit, it's fabricated, and that's that. Prove to me otherwise. Give me the documentation. Give it to me. And believe me, if you try to fake that shit, I will be able to spot it.
Smooch the like button.
Enjoy the video.
It's good to see everybody. I talked about what I'm getting ready to talk about tonight. I talked about before on the last live stream that didn't save, so a lot of people probably missed that.
Hey, Candy.
And
Welcome
I'm
back,
going to be
Candy.
talking about
Real quick before we get into all
this.
You're going to hear a bit. I hear it. There's a bit of an echo on this. I don't know why that happens, but it's there. Hopefully it's not like an echo of an echo of an echo. But hey, there's two of me on screen again. Here's the story of a lovely Jimmy who is really pissed off at Kent Burris's face. Here we go.
Obviously, this documentary that's come out on social media, on YouTube, with this Jimmy Mitchell who has done this documentary. And by the way,
we both did that at the same time.
For those of you that are involved with this documentary, I know that you're on here watching this, and I know that you've been gathering information off of the Ghost of Carmel main Facebook page and taking it
What up,
back
Donut?
to Jimmy and you know what, whatever.
Yeah, so
you know, I'm
I
not
have
I'm not
moles
going
that
to
report to
get
me what's going
into
on with this guy because he's
bashing
blocked me
people's
from the shit.
heads.
Okay.
Hey Dwight, I miss you too.
I miss you
Yeah,
too, Dwight.
can't wait to see you guys soon. I'm not gonna, you know what I thought about this. I'm not gonna repay evil with evil. I mean, there's some bad things I can say about some of these people involved with this, but I'm not gonna do that tonight, and I'm not ever gonna do that on social media.
Okay.
I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm here to talk about my side of things that's going on. But first, I want to mention about this documentary, and I need to make this very clear publicly, that I do not sanction this documentary. I don't have any contracts signed with anyone for this documentary. There's no contracts. I never signed any contracts with Jimmy Mitchell.
Okay. That's true. He never signed any contracts. I sent him a contract. I mean, I asked him if he would be willing to sign a contract. He said yes, which I have texts about that. I wrote up the contract, and this is before ChatGPT. And he didn't like the way I had written it, which I still have that contract. He said he didn't like the way it was written, Jeff. And that basically I had written it in such a way that said that it was kind of open-ended. That, you know, he's like, well, the way it's written, it's you know, you can basically just take my videos and you can go do anything with them. If you wanted to, you could make a whole new channel and be posting my videos, and which was the furthest thing from what I was thinking about doing at all. I wasn't trying to do anything like that. I just wanted to be able to use his videos and that, you know, he was okay with the documentary. And I said, okay, I'll rewrite it. And I wrote it better. And I sent that to him, and he never signed that either. He just kind of ghosted me on it. Yeah. So yeah, there's no contract written between the two of us, but there's plenty of texts that show he was okay with being in the documentary and having me come out there.
He wanted me to sign contracts, and I turned him down. I did not want to get involved in the legal aspects of this so-called documentary that he was working on. And I say so-called because back then, in my opinion, it was just a so-called documentary. Now, Jimmy came to me, sent me a message, and said that he was a producer, and he stated he has his own production company. Now, he may come out and say, oh, Kent's a liar. I never said that. Well, I have no reason to lie about this.
Ooh,
all right? He approaches me.
Hold on. Lie number one. I never said that I had a production company. I never said that at all. What I said was, I don't know if I ever used the word producer. I have exactly our first exchange. So there's a buzz.
Mr. Burris, it is a pleasure.
Twin me. There's this buzz that's happening. It's bad. So sorry about that.
I'm going to use voice messages to talk with you because I'm out driving.
This is the first message I ever sent to Kent Burris.
Right now for my job. So I live out in Indiana, and I'm a YouTuber as well. Now I don't have, you know, like 40,000 subscribers like you. I'm working on 11,000. My channel is not paranormal based at all. I'm a gamer. And my name on YouTube is
Drum Blanket. That's my name on YouTube.
And I have a friend
My other channel.
named Luke Millette who has a channel.
Single consent for recording. I don't know what that means.
Sorry, I didn't realize that cut off. I kept talking and it wasn't recording. So Luke Millette has
Rude
a
is a
channel
very nice
that is
word to
paranormal
use.
based.
It's a very nice
And
word.
his show is called Ghost Tapes. And he did like 3 documentaries and a series for Ghost Tapes. And now he's very, I guess I would say,
Regardless
inactive. As,
regardless of whether or not
Ghost Tapes is
let me pause that. Regardless of whether or not he signed a contract, I have the texts where he says, yes, that will be fine. So I've got the documented proof that he was okay with it, and you'll see that here too.
something that he did. He went into it looking for answers. He went into it without having any ghost stories at all. And then, ended with several ghost stories. We're both, I guess, enthusiasts of making film. You know, he's a documentarian, or whatever. And I'm very, I guess, savvy when it comes to production work and stuff like that. So is he. He went to film school and stuff. I didn't, but you watch people. That's how I work. I watch people and I kind of learn, and then I apply what I've learned to my own thing. And I would, you don't have to, but if you haven't already, I'd appreciate, just go over and take a look at both of our channels. And this leads me to really the main reason why I'm reaching out to you. I really want to work on a paranormal documentary. Now, I guess where I should have started with all this is I believe you, okay? I've watched a lot of your videos, and I believe that you're telling the truth. I think you have something
At the time,
very
I did.
paranormal going on at your house there in Carmel, Maine. And it is intriguing to me. The thing that's intriguing to me is I watch your videos, and I try to get to know you as a person while watching your videos. I mean, that's kind of how
I'm
you just
speaking.
kinda do that.
So these are my messages to Kent. This is when I first reached out to Kent, Brian, to set up the documentary. I didn't know him. He only had like 30,000, 40,000 subscribers at the time. Yeah, it's me reaching out to Kent, and I was working at the time. I used to collect drug tests and mail them to a lab during the day, and I was just sending voice messages as I was driving. So that's why it sounds... There's a buzz that's happening from the microphone because I'm recording my phone, and there was like some weird connection issue. That's why there was a nasty buzz. But that's why that's the noise in the background is me driving. So anyway, that's what's going on here.
It's like when you watch your favorite show and you get to know these people. Like, I know you're a fan of Everybody Loves Raymond. That's such a good show, by the way. Probably one of the best sitcoms ever, to be honest. And I think one of the last, like, true sitcoms that exist. I love Peter Boyle, and just such a good show, man. Anyway, while you watch that show, you grow to love the characters, and you kind of grow to know them. And it's sort of the same sort of thing watching your videos.
It was easier for me to
there's a lot of
speak
things that I don't know
than
about
text.
you, but
That's why.
the thing that I get while watching you is you are a no-nonsense
I do that a
person.
lot.
You seem like a very nuts and bolts, grease and oil, hammer and nails kind of guy. No nonsense. So anyway, I would really like.
I missed that one.
Now this isn't an insult, but I can tell, based on your production work with your show, that you are not somebody who can do CGI and fake stuff in that sense. I don't feel like you're doing any of this for publicity, but more as, just to document it and show
again,
people your experiences.
All this was true at the time.
And,
That's how I felt about it. I didn't think he was.
If somebody's willing to help you,
He seemed one way.
You're putting yourself out there for that as well.
Nice. This is all true. What's up, Mike? This is all. There's no denying this. This is exactly how this whole thing started. I saw this guy and I thought,
sure can.
this looks real. I really want it to be real. I had suspicions. I think anybody does. My suspicions were not where they are at this point, though. You got to understand. The way that the first documentary starts, it's very dramatic, and it's because when I started doing that narration, I had already learned quite a few things. Okay. I had probably been working on this documentary for 2 years at that point when I made that narration. And, I guess it's one of those things where I'm immediately showing my skeptical side. I think I portray that way heavier than the side of this has got to be real, right? And I did that on purpose because all of the things that come out seem to be that way. They all seem to be, trying to push you into the idea that ghosts are real, and they're doing it in a way I think they'll do anything to get you there. It's all meant for entertainment. And that's not to say that my documentary isn't meant for entertainment, but what I'm saying is I was getting straight to the idea of I'm skeptical. Now, I apologize if that's... No, hold on.
This was supposed to be edited here, but I didn't edit it, so it is what it is. I'm thinking about what I need to say. It was just an edit that I missed.
Oh, how do I word this?
Hey, Carla.
I did that on purpose because I wanted people to... I had already, at that point, when I made the narration, I was 2 years into making this documentary, and I had learned things that were crazy as far as my skepticism, because
Same debunk.
I hadn't even questioned the idea that the house had been a funeral home. I didn't know any of that. I knew exactly what everybody else knew, what Kent had said, right? That, there were these spirits, this Naomi Mitchell, the Edmund Lamb, Rachel, and oh darn it, there were some other names back at that time, and I can't remember. Kimball. There was a girl named Kimball. It's just been so long since I've thought about that.
but I wanted these things to be real. And then I get there and I experience the things that I experienced, but Kent is I'm watching Kent because I am skeptical, especially when he started telling me certain stories. He started saying certain things. Like it just seemed like stuff that I was familiar with, behavior that I was familiar with from people who were not being 100% on the level with you. Okay? These are people, and so that really sparked my suspicion further, you know. When I got there, and you see in the beginning of episode 2 for the YouTube cut, you're gonna see footage of me from at the hotel from the night that from when I was staying there, and I'm saying then,
This was before
if he's
episode
faking
2
it,
had
I'm
come
fully
out.
prepared to expose it. So I had that notion back then that I wanted it to be real, but if I find out that it's not, then I guess there was this part of me that had been watching all those people that I had talked about before, Mindseed and Omar Gosh and all those guys. And I was so fed up with them faking things. And I knew that those guys aren't going to let me come around. I'm nobody, Those guys aren't going to let me come around and film them, make a documentary out of them. I'm nobody, And, but Kent, I guess, caught the blunt end of that. Like, I was so fed up with these guys, it was like, if I go to this guy's house, somebody that I can go to, who seems like he's got stuff going on, he seems like a certain kind of person, he seems like a good old boy. I live around good old boys. He seems like that type. If I find out that this guy is falsifying things or telling stories that aren't true, then I'm just gonna show the evidence that supports against his claims. I'm gonna out him. That was really my thought.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
It's a natural progression of how things went. So, and I'm trying not to miss any video or any of these audio messages, because these are the very first messages I ever sent to him. But so far, I haven't said anything about working for a production company, and I never do. I never say anything like that at all.
So anyway,
You're all right, Jeff. I
I
appreciate you anyway, man.
would
You don't gotta
really
talk. I think you're beautiful no matter what.
to work something out with you. Now, I know you probably get hit up a lot, and I don't know what would make us any different than any of those people. It's really up to you to go check out Luke Millett's channel and to check out my channel and see if working with us is something that you'd be willing to do. Luke lives out in Colorado now, but we get together and we do videos together. I would really like to see if we could work together where the three of us can actually sit down and do a documentary. Now, all you have to do is just basically be the subject of the documentary.
Fair enough, right there. All you have to do is be the subject of the documentary.
But I would love to come out to Carmel, Maine for a few days and basically do an investigation with you of your house, you, myself, and Luke together, but also do a real documentary about you, who you are, where you came from, really set the tone as to you being a no-nonsense person, and you know, have fun and make an excellent documentary on the paranormal. It's something that I really want to do, and it's something I've always really wanted to do.
I don't recall that video,
And
Brian.
I feel like you and your house and your story are very compelling. And it's just, I'm basically approaching you and asking you what you're. Sorry, again, that cut out and I didn't realize it. Yeah, I'm reaching out to you and I'm asking, is this something that you would be interested in doing? And, obviously we're not looking for money to, or anything like that. I don't expect any money from, that's ridiculous. I just want to come out and have an experience. That's payment enough. Making a documentary, like actually contributing to the paranormal investigative world and really, making a genuine film
Such aspirations.
about your situation. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm asking, is that something that you would be willing to do? Definitely have plenty of time to plan for it. It doesn't have to be any time soon. Like,
Who is this Kent guy? Okay. Firefly Kelly. Kent is Kent Burris from the channel The Ghost of Carmel, Maine. It's my documentary. That's why everybody's here. The documentary I've put together, and I'm still working on the third part. It's about the Ghost of Carmel, Maine, Kent Burris, and how this is me talking to him at the beginning of everything. So, like trying to put together the documentary. That's what the messages here that you're seeing over here are. That's because I keep everything. I still have it. It's all in my phone. So this was me reaching out to him to see if he would be willing to do the documentary. The thing is he put together a video that is basically calling me that I lied to him and I misled him and all of this stuff, which I'll point out as we go along. This is a video that I did back in January, but I hid it after I think a week or two because I didn't really want to have like drama videos. That wasn't really what I was interested in doing. But I'm sharing it now because it's just kind of been in recent discussion with me and somebody else. And I thought, you know what, I could just make it visible again, but then I thought, well, how about I just make a live out of it and hang out with everybody and just kind of go through it and share it with you. So, but as you can see, he responded, after I sent all those voice messages, he responded, "Thanks, Jimmy. I don't have a problem with this. I think it's important for others to come to the Lamb House and document this activity and witness how real this is. I think we should set up a time to call here on Messenger, maybe sometime this weekend, to talk about this." And then I won't be able to talk this evening. I'm going back to the farmhouse for a final investigation tomorrow evening, doing a special investigation at the Lamb House. Anytime tomorrow afternoon before 6 p.m. or Sunday between 11 and 7 p.m. works best for me, which is also, I put that in the documentary too. So, yeah, you can see right here clearly that he consents to me making the documentary about him.
Okay, well, that's it. There's this message here, which I guess I can play that one too.
oh man, Mr. Burris, dude, you've really kind of made my day here.
It was not his cat,
yeah, man,
brother.
I'm down to talk whenever, especially during the weekend. I can talk. I have to
His
work. I have
cat's
two
tail
jobs,
is not that
right?
long.
Well, right now I have two jobs. I'll have two jobs even when I come see you too, I'm sure. But right now my job is I drive around Indianapolis and I collect drug tests and I mail them to a lab to be analyzed, and then I'm at the end of my pizza delivery career that's been going on for 7 years.
Okay.
And I'm moving on to something else. But so I'm kind of booked through the evening. I think we're on the same time. The time zones are the same for us, so it's about 2:30 for me here. I get off work with Jack's Pizza is the name of the place. Usually around.
Okay, so, and then, you know, this is these two texts here. Were put in the documentary. Obviously my exchange back and forth with Kent in the episode was a dumbed down version of that.
Kenny said they
Because
were
it's just like, hey, I'm
explainable.
interested in making a documentary
He
on
said
you.
they were
You can tell, though, I never said anything about having a production company. So that's interesting.
Me and
Love
says
Highlighter
that
Boy.
he's a producer and has his own production company, and he would like to come to Carmel and, you know, film a documentary about the Lamb House.
That's true.
And I'm like, yeah, you know, no problem. You know, he said it would be on his YouTube channel. So, you know, so I had assumed that, you know, he was just a small amateur producer that, you know, thought that he could do a documentary about Ghosts of Carmel, Maine and the Lamb House. Well, he then asked me if he can raise money and post a GoFundMe on the GOCM Paranormal group page.
They're okay
And so,
pizzas.
yeah, I said, you know, like, yeah, no problem. I said, you know what? I don't even do that, but I'll allow you to do that. I mean, you know, so that kind of raised some red flags with me. I'm like, well, why is he needing to raise money? If isn't he a producer? Doesn't he have his own funds to come out here and film this? So I allowed him to do that.
See, now think about this.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't GoFundMe, it was Indiegogo.
Think about this though. He is lying right now because he's basing this on, well, I thought Jimmy was a producer, which I never said that I was in the first place. Right? It's really interesting. You all know that. I mean, I showed it. I never ever said ever that I was a producer, that I had a production company. I do have an LLC, but that's for my record label. But I never even brought that up. So at the time, though, I don't think I had the LLC yet. I think that came later. But regardless, he is lying right now. This whole thing, he is lying about his feelings towards me. Why would he need to do that? Like, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, I did that. The reason why is, and that's the thing, he's saying the stuff about me having a production company.
That's right.
No,
you're right.
Again, I mean, I'll just let the evidence speak for itself on that. But yeah, that's true. I did set up a GoFundMe. At Indiegogo, and needed to raise money because I needed to get out there, and originally I wanted a team of people to work with me in post. So, you know, I wanted, you know, animators or, you know, people who had time to help me work and put this thing together, because I wanted to get it done quickly and get it done well. But I wasn't able to raise all of the money that I had hoped for. I was something like, I think I asked for like $5,000. I'm pretty sure it was like $5,000. That was going to be enough to hire some people, and just make sure that all of what I needed for putting the thing together would I'd be able to do that. I needed to buy an interface for audio so I could do the interviews.
100% of it is
I wanted
is
to get
bullshit, Brian.
some of
Don't-
my own equipment, like
Edmund Lamb lived there with his
like,
family. That's
you know, couple like a spirit box or REM pod and stuff like that to take out there. But then I realized that Luke had a lot of that stuff, so didn't need that. So that was going to put, you know, more money towards the whole production aspect of it all. So yeah, I did put up an Indiegogo to try and raise some money. I you know, I was going to need gas and a place to stay. All of that was to be included in that money that was raised to get out there and film this thing. So
Um,
and I only ended up, I say only, I ended up raising like $270, which was enough to take care of the hotel room, like exactly enough to take care of the hotel room. So that's what the money that was raised paid for.
so I allow him and Luke. Luke was a friend of his. He flew in from.
All right, Brian. No, it's not. It's not a good case behind. No, it's all horse shit. There's no way to get bodies down into that basement. What was he going to throw them through the window? There's no way he could have gotten bodies down there. Okay, all basements have a drain in them. You see, he's praying, and there's a lot of. I find that there's a lot of states and places where you can't have basements. So it's another, which I don't know that he knows that, but it's another amazing thing that he's preying on the ignorance of people. I have a basement, and there's a drain in my basement. The strip, or the what do you call it? Like, it's almost like a gutter that goes around the entire basement. That's literally for liquid, for water. It's a sort of a waterproofing system that is on an incline, and it's to take any water that comes in from melted snow or rain that comes into the house, into the basement there, and drains it to the drain of the that takes it out of the house. So no, it's not an interesting case. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's just him preying on people who don't know any better, you know. So don't blame you for thinking that way. When it comes to blood, you do not want a porous surface for blood and other bodily fluids to pour onto, because it will soak in. Concrete is very porous, and blood and all kinds of body fluids would soak into the basement floor. So it's all a bunch of horse shit. No one ever came out there and said, well, this was made for embalming people and cremating people. It's all horse shit.
Another state. Jimmy drove here.
that's true.
But when I saw the way, you know, he was kind of acting, I mean, I checked into him a little more
You hear that?
closer after the fact, and I flat out asked him after he left and went back home. He got in contact with me. I said, Jimmy, you know, you said that you're a producer. I go, are you licensed? I mean, are you a business? Do you actually own your own production company? And he tells me no. He goes, but that's my biggest dream, is to become a film producer. He goes, that's a big dream of mine, and I would like to use this documentary to get started with it. Yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. I mean, you know, a lot of people has that dreams, you know, to be a film producer. I'm like, yeah, whatever, okay. You know, but I didn't like the idea that he kind of misled me on this. Well, later on, he contacts me after he was going through his recordings, and he said, Kent, I'm going to send you an email, and I want you to sign this contract. And that way I can have the rights to use all, you know, the materials, and the rights to use, you know, your name or whatever, you know. And he sends me this contract, and I looked it over, and I got back in contact with him, and I said, I can't sign that. I said, there's no way I'm going to sign that.
Right.
I said, you don't need a contract with me if you're doing your own filming and you want to post it on YouTube. But then he told me no. He goes, I want to post it on national TV. He goes, I feel like this can go on national television, and I really need you to sign that.
Well, I don't know.
You know, and I explained to him, I said, you can't just go contact a national television network and tell them you got this documentary. You have to go through a production company. You have to go through producers that they know, production companies that are established already. I said, you just can't do that.
I understand that. I understand that's how it works. You have to have an like an agent or somebody like that can help get your material out there. So I understand that. The original idea was I was going to pitch it to Netflix. That was, well, I wouldn't say that's the original idea. Huge aspirations, right? Like, I'll pitch it to Netflix. I don't expect them to take it, but I'll pitch it to Netflix. I'll pitch it to Hulu. I'll pitch it to, you know, whatever live streaming service I can. Put it on Amazon Prime. That was another thing I was going to do. And maybe it can, you know, we'll see what happens. I never really expected it to do anything, but in the event that it did, I wanted to make sure that he was okay with it. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah. I said, you know, I'm not going to sign any contract with you. In the contract, he also wanted exclusive rights to Ghosts of Carmel, Maine materials that's on the YouTube channel. And I said, there's no way I would sign that.
That's not
Giving
true.
you exclusive rights? No.
Exclusive rights.
No, we already saw
That's not true.
We already saw the contract that I sent to him, and nowhere in that contract does it say anything about exclusive rights. You see, he keeps piling on the horse shit. And earlier I mentioned, because he's talking about, like, there's just certain things that he's saying, like, oh, I started watching it, there was some red flags and all this. I'll circle back to that here in a minute, because I think he brings it up again. But yeah, we've already seen that he completely agreed to do the documentary. So, contract or not, like, I have proof that says he was okay with me making the documentary and me putting it out there.
That's not true. And as a matter of fact, well, I mean, like I said, I'll just show you the contract.
So I should say, Kent Burris, give James Mitchell permission to make a documentary about the paranormal activity going on at my home in Carmel, Maine. I also give Mr. Mitchell permission to use footage of me as well as clips from my own videos and videos on my YouTube channel, The Ghost of Carmel, Maine, in his documentary in its completed form and its promotion. I understand there is no final financial compensation given to me for the use of my image or clips. There's nothing about exclusive rights, right? He didn't expect that I would keep all this stuff, you know? What kind of documentarian would I be if I were to not, you know, keep all my fucking documents, you stupid ass?
That I had written up, because I found it the other day, and yeah, I never asked for exclusive rights. But what's interesting is after our discussion,
No, Kent does not have a college education.
he told me that he signed an agreement with a company, a non-compete agreement, and that meant that I couldn't use any of his YouTube footage in the documentary.
Okay, in case you missed that. So I reached back out to him, showing him my clips and stuff. And when I did, I told him then, I said, look, man, I thought you were full of shit. And there were some things that came to my attention that I felt like, okay, he's faking this or he's faking that. And so I told him this stuff. And when I told him that, we had a little conversation, about my EVPs, because that's what I was showing him, were the EVPs that I caught. And after that, he was like, "Oh, by the way, I've I've signed a non-compete agreement." So he's saying that he gave exclusive rights to somebody else, is basically what he said, which is not true. It's also a lie. That never happened. But that was his way of trying to make it to where I couldn't use any of his footage in the documentary, which he clearly forgot that he even told me that lie. That's the thing about lies, right? If you're going to be a liar, you have to remember all of your lies. If you're going to be a good liar anyway, you have to remember all of your lies. It's so much easier to just tell the truth. But he was so in over his head that he didn't, he didn't know what he was saying or who he was saying it to and all of that, which that comes up again later anyway.
Which turned out to not be true at all. And I don't need any contract.
Somebody fill in Jay
for
Smith,
anything
please.
like that, as far as really for what it's doing and where it's going. I don't need a contract because everything falls under fair use, right? And as long as I'm not slandering him or saying things that aren't true, I can do what I want with the documentary, period. So I don't know where he's going with this, so we'll see here.
So I left it at that. There's no agreements between both of us. There's no contract signed. And in all honesty, I just really wanted nothing to do with him after that, the way he was acting about this whole thing. I mean, it sounded very unprofessional to me, and there's no way. If anything, he did sign an NDA with me. So, I mean, he did sign that. And he's actually violating that non-disclosure agreement. I made sure that he signed one. And
hold on a second. I'm going to say that's bullshit. I challenge him to present that. So all of you minions of his out there, let him know to provide that, because I'm pretty sure that never happened.
one of the things in the agreement is you do not talk about my personal life, and you don't talk about people in my family, and anything that I say, you do not put in that video, you don't put in the video. Well, I ended up letting him know that I'm not going to get involved with this documentary, and left it at that. So,
okay. All right. Sorry I keep pausing this, but it just must be done. So if you remember earlier, he was saying I showed up and I was acting a little weird. I just started acting strangely, and these red flags were going off, and so he decided that he was going to look into me a little deeper, right? That's my fucking story. That's my story about him. You see what he's doing? He's taking my story and telling all it. See this blurred out section that's just below me here? This is all blurred out. That's because it's a live chat. Okay. So he's telling all these people this. He's telling, he's lying to these people who hang on his every word, who never watched the documentary and won't, because it's a smear campaign or what the fuck ever. So he's he's taking my story and turning it into his story, right? And then he says this whole thing about like he didn't want anything to do with it. That never happened. He didn't refuse anything until, like I said here, until I asked him for a final interview in 2023. That's when he decided, oh, this whole thing is beneath me. He actually promoted this documentary on a couple of podcasts. He would have people would have like I do. People would have him come on their show and ask him questions, and he promoted this podcast several times. I have clips of that too. So he was excited about it until he found out that I wasn't just another idiot swallowing everything he said. So there's that.
So all this time goes by. 3 years go by. This was back at the very beginning of January 2020, I believe was the date when he came here.
Oh, I did not sign an NDA. No, I never signed any NDA at all. There was, and like I said, I challenged him to present that to me, and he didn't, because there was none. You know, I even asked Luke. I was like, "Do you remember signing an NDA?" And he was like, "No, we didn't sign anything at all." I was like, "I didn't think so." So no, there's no NDA signed. And to the however many minions there are watching him or watching this right now that are reporting this to Kent, bring that up to him, please, because there's no NDA. There is no NDA. It was
to film this.
January 16th, I think.
And I wanted to make sure that I did an interview with both of them before they left, because I wanted to make sure that they're not going to go out and say a bunch of stuff that's not true as far as the activity in this house.
Right.
You know, I didn't know if he was going to come out and say, "Oh, this is all fake. You know, Kent's a fake. He's a fraud, blah, 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 blah. You know, same old, same old." You know.
But he had no reason to even think about that, right? There was no reason for him. The whole time I was there with him, I was very like, this is crazy. This is, you know, what's going on. You know, this is interesting. This happened. This is interesting. So why would he be worried about that unless he was faking things? As I say, the worry over my labeling your videos as fake suggests there might be hidden aspects. Right?
As far as the drama stuff on social media. So I sat down and did an interview with him, and I'm glad I did, because there's some things that they said in this interview that I will point out here.
I remember that interview, and I'll stand behind that interview. So, not sure what good that's going to do you. But yeah, there are ghosts in this man's house. I said it then, and I'm saying it now. I allude to it in the first episode, which is, at this point, that's the only episode that's been released.
Get out of my face.
The first episode is what is far more advocating for Kent than against him. So, okay, I'm glad you're bringing that out. I figured you would. But it doesn't matter, because I never said you don't have ghosts, and I've never said that you're a complete fake.
In a little bit. So anyway,
I'm the real
just not that long ago, Adam Berry, who has been to the house many times, him and his brother's been here. They've been on investigations with me, and asked me if I knew about this Ghosts of Carmel, Maine documentary that's on YouTube. And I said, you know, I haven't heard anything about it. So I went and looked it up, and sure enough, it was Jimmy Mitchell's called the Ghosts of Carmel, Maine documentary.
Inception.
Coming soon. It was some trailer that he put out.
It's Inception, Carla.
You know, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You know, so I knew the drama was going to start. So I looked it up, and I saw on his YouTube channel who was involved with it. And one of the people that was involved with it was David from Hoax of Carmel, Maine. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to even watch this. I'm not going to get involved with this drama. I'm just not into it. So Jimmy ends up contacting me and asked me if he can interview somebody in my family. He definitely wants to do an interview with me. And who are all the paranormal investigators that's been here? You know, he wants to do interviews, and I flat out told him, I said, Jimmy, I'm not getting involved with this.
Okay. I asked him if he had anybody that would sit down with me and talk good about him.
Right.
Which I will.
Right.
Do you know of anyone who would be willing to sit down with me that knows that you have that knows you, that has a positive relationship with you? I'm looking for people who have a good relationship with you to interview for episode 2. I would ask the group chat, but they blocked me. They have the wrong idea. I messaged Lori Bowles, but I'm sure she doesn't know I reached out. I also reached out to Adam Berry, but haven't heard back. Adam Berry is who he's talking about right now. And he responds with, which I can only see a bit of it here. In all honesty, Jimmy, outside of the family and close friends, I don't have relationships with people on a personal level. Family and close friends know when it comes to social media, I'm a very private person. They would never talk to someone about me they don't know. See, again, he tries to stonewall me. He's stonewalling me. It's the same shit that he did to me when I was there, trying to get an interview with, I didn't try to get it. I just said, would your wife or would your kids be willing to talk to me? And he didn't want me to do. He didn't want that. So it's the same thing. I'm not really surprised, but I still had to ask. Anyway,
We'll provide that information, and that I will back that up.
That's also a part of this. And I want to mention who Rural Chaos TV is, because they come out and publicly say it anyway. That guy's name's Benjamin.
See, he doesn't
now,
like
Benjamin,
that. He doesn't like
I
that
used
people
to
know
work
who
with
Ben
at
is now.
a restaurant in Newport. And we weren't friends. We were acquaintances. That's all we were. I mean, it's not like, we ever hung out together. I mean, I'm old enough to be his dad. He's not the type of person that I would have just hung out with. So anyway, later on down through the years, after the Ghost of Carmel Maine got started up, and once the subscribers hit 30,000 subscribers, Benjamin contacts me and say, hey, it's Benjamin, and he said, wow, I saw your videos. And he was pretty shocked about how many subscribers there were. And he said the ratings are just unbelievable.
Benjamin has a very different story about this. That Kent approached Ben, not the other way around. But does that really surprise any of you?
Sandy?
Hi, Sandy.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
So then he started talking to me about, he's a film producer and he'd love to come to the house and do a documentary at the house. And I said, yeah, fine. But, every time I kept trying to set it up with him, he just kept putting it off.
He does that.
Well, then he was telling me I need to monetize the YouTube channel, and it's talking about all the money I can make off of it. He said that,
Thank you, Carla.
He could help me with this stuff by getting stuff set up where
I think you're right, by the way. I think you're right.
Everything from merchandise or, just different ideas that he had. People were asking about it. I didn't have time to set it up. I didn't know how to set it up. So Benjamin said he would set it up. So he finds this guy, and the guy contacts me. He sends me some of his stuff, and I thought it was pretty good. So I was trying to work out a deal with the guy that if you want to go ahead and take care of the merchandise and handle it, that's fine, because I don't know what to do with it. Yes, George, you remember all that. Well, time goes by, and the guy, I didn't hear from him. And I asked Benjamin, well, what's going on with the guy on this merchandise?
Right.
If he doesn't want to do it, I can find.
That's an excellent point. He just came clean right there. Fucking retard. Excuse me for using such strong language. I know we're not supposed to use the R word anymore, but my God. Okay, I gotta stop. I don't want to call people names. He just makes it very difficult to not do that. He flat out just admitted it was for the business stuff. So good catch, Carla.
Find somebody else that wants to do it. And Benjamin would get in contact with me. Well, another month goes by and I don't hear from the guy. I'm kind of getting frustrated with it. And the guy tells me that he had fights with his girlfriends and sorry, his life's all messed up at the moment and, that he'll get back with me. And I told Benjamin, forget it. I don't want to get involved with this guy. If the guy has girlfriend issues and money issues, I'm not going to put this merchandise into his hands. I don't trust it. And I'm not going to get involved with him.
Yeah, I don't
know. Well, that
either.
kind of angered Benjamin.
I don't know anything about this story. I do know that I have plenty of texts from Kent to Benjamin talking about how he can finally make money off of this channel. So there's that, which again, I can provide. And here you go. So I didn't realize this at the time, but Benjamin did a response over at ruralchaos.tv. I'll provide a link for you, and you can just read his response. But at the very bottom of this are all of the photos, every single one of them. And you can look at them, and you can read them, and you can see everything that was ever said about making money. It's all of it's right here. So have fun with that.
You know, want to know something really funny about that? He puts this stuff out for people to see, right? He puts it out so that anybody on either side, Kent's side or the opposition side, to read it. And you know what the people that love Kent did? How dare you post private stuff like this? They didn't even care that it clearly shows that Kent was after money. Just forget that. Let's just find something else to bitch about, and pretend that you're a despicable person, Ben, because you put out these private messages. It's so fucking.
Well, whatever.
And I finally told Benjamin, look, you know, you got all these ideas of generating funds. I told him I can't do this right now because I'm not established as a business. In order for me to bring in funds, these kind of funds that you're talking about, I have to have a federal tax ID number. I have to have a bank account set up. It has to be legal. I have to be a legal business to do this. You just don't go out, you know, bringing in all this money without giving some legal account for it. And I told Benjamin at this time, I'm not going to set up a business. I'm just not going to do it. Well, Benjamin basically got mad at me. And
okay, if this is where his story ends, this is all bullshit. Because here you go again, just in case you didn't see it the first time. I finally have everything to set up the GOCM as a business. Like, we can finally start bringing in money, you know? I mean, this is all bullshit. And Ben didn't get mad at him for this at all. Ben just stopped talking to him because Kent was talking shit about David. And David and Ben are friends. Kent was going around saying that David was a drug addict and all this other horse shit that just wasn't true. And he tried to make it about how David just wanted money. And that's what he's doing here too. He's trying to say that Benjamin was just about the money. And it's just like, wow. It's a really easy arrow to point at somebody.
because the YouTube channel was monetized, and we'll get this, we'll get on this in a minute of what Jimmy says about me monetizing the YouTube channel. But because the YouTube channel is monetized, and because of the merchandise store that we put on the YouTube channel, I did have to get a federal tax ID number, and I had to establish as a legal business. And the legal business name is my name, DBA Paranormal, GOCM Paranormal Films, Ghost of Carmel, Maine. So Ghost of Carmel, Maine is the name of the business that's licensed in the state of Maine. And legally, I don't believe they can use that name.
Okay, well, I also have a YouTube channel that is monetized, and what he's saying right now isn't true. You can do it as an individual. That's what I've been doing for 9 years now. They send you a 1099 every year, and you just include it in your personal taxes. Mm-hmm. Another interesting thing, I did a background check on Kent. I paid for a background check. This company that he says he exists, that's listed as a company in Maine, is not listed under his name. I found out a couple of things, but at the time that I'm talking about, there are tools that you can use to look up if a person's channel is monetized. So I did that, okay? And I found out that his channel was monetized. And I reached out to him and I talked about that. And I said, look, like, you know, you tell people that it's not monetized, but I find out that it is monetized. That's a lie. Let's call it what it is. It's a lie, okay? And he says, well, you clearly haven't watched the channel in a while.
Check on what,
I
Teshy?
made an announcement some time ago about how
There's nothing to check. Like
I
I
needed
said,
to monetize the
I've been
channel.
doing the same thing for, you know,
So everyone knows that
there's
I
nothing to
monetized the
check.
channel. I made
I'm
it
in the
public
clear on that.
that I was going to do that. And I immediately said, okay, I'm sorry that I said that was a lie. There's a text right there.
See, this is why I'm asking to have another interview with you. It's that information which is important. I apologize for saying the monetization story was a lie. The Historical Society staff were available during my interview and offered plenty of information about the house. I would like to see the records and documented proof you mentioned which state that the house was a funeral home. This would be a great argument on your side against the people who said it wasn't. Please understand, investigating this story has led me to the conclusions I am at. I'm not taking any sides. I'm going with the data I have discovered. I never ever called you a liar. I've said I was suspicious about things, so please let us cooperate together to get accurate information into the documentary. How much more agreeable can I be? You know?
I'm sorry I said that.
I'm not sorry anymore, though, however. Just so you know.
Now, it's interesting to see what he says next. Because something has come to light since I had this conversation with him, where I have texts between him and Ben and him talking about monetizing the channel back in 2019. I can finally monetize the channel. I have that.
Autumn did do that.
Now, whether
for
or not
me,
I
and
choose to
appreciate
use
the
it
hell out of
now, I don't know yet. Maybe we'll see. But let's see what he says.
Has everything to do with monetizing the YouTube channel.
Twice the gym.
I'm going to play a clip for you guys. I'm going to see if I can get this computer over here.
Listen, there are things that I have discovered about stuff that you have said that I know is not true, okay? I know that you monetize your channel, and I know that you have monetized your channel. Like, I know it for a fact. And that's fine. That's fine. But you said that you haven't done that, and I find out that you did, so then I'm like, well, that's weird. Why? What else is maybe not entirely accurate? I don't care. I don't care that you make money off the channel. That doesn't bother me. But what does bother me is if you say, I don't monetize my
Yes.
channel, and you do, well, that's interesting. You know, why would you say that? Why would you lie about that?
Someone, Chris. He sounds like a mouth breather. I am. I don't know if you can see it or not, but my nose is kind of crooked down here. Makes it hard to breathe through my nose. I'm a fucking mouth breather, okay? It sucks. I snore. I snore bad. I snore when I'm not asleep. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
fair. That's fair. Again, I didn't know, at which he explained to me,
No.
and he
But,
didn't include
no,
this.
I didn't give him permission.
But he explained to me that whole thing.
No.
And I immediately was like, I'm sorry. And since he didn't provide that, I guess I will.
One of the things that they're talking about on this phone interview on the YouTube thing is Abby Mitchell. You know, and then they're saying, well, yeah, we looked up Abby Mitchell. There's no Abby Mitchell related to the Mitchell families. And, you know, basically I'm making this up and making a huge mountain out of a molehill because of the name of Abby Mitchell that came up during investigations. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Have you guys not watched these videos? Have you not seen Ghost Chronicles where I explain all of this? Just because Abby Mitchell came up 1 or 2 times doesn't mean that I was claiming that Abby Mitchell was a sister to Naomi and Rachel. I mean, it's like they're twisting everything around and make it look like something it's not. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So they're making a big deal out of Abby Mitchell. That basically I'm claiming that, you know, that Abby Mitchell is related to the Mitchell family, which I've never claimed that. I've never said that in any video whatsoever.
Okay. So you talk about Naomi Mitchell, you talk about Rachel Mitchell, and you talk about Abby Mitchell. Now, look, I'm Jimmy Mitchell, and I get it, right? Like, as far as I know, I'm not related to Naomi Mitchell or to Rachel Mitchell. I have a cousin named that, but not the spirit, the one that tapped you on the hip and said, "Help me, Kent." But you don't have to say it to say it.
Then they go on to say that that I said that the reason why Edmund Lamb killed Rachel is because Edmund wanted her to get an abortion. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never mentioned that in any video. I'm like, you guys have got some bad information. And I have seen people comment on social media saying these things. And I'm like, yeah, I've never said that in the videos. And it's almost like they're going to the negative part on social media, gathering information. And
no, it goes along with what I'm talking about. You don't have to say it to say it. And you know that. You know that. Like, you're good at that. You know how that works.
It's like they're accusing me of saying this stuff. I don't ever recall to this day ever coming out claiming that Edmund Lamb murdered Rachel. I've never, even in Ghost Chronicles, I was very careful about saying that. You know, it's all what these spirits are saying. Bullshit. And I point these out in the videos. That's what these spirits are saying, that Edmund murdered Rachel. Rachel's claiming it. I've never come out and accused Edmund Lamb of murdering Rachel.
All right, get the fuck out of here with that. Get the fuck out of here with that. All right? Period. If you were in a fucking court of law and someone says, hey, and saying these things that you're saying, I'm saying, that, okay, you're out there saying that Edmund murdered this girl. And you come back with, I never said that. The spirits are saying that. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Fucking, do you expect people to take this seriously? This is a fucking joke. This is fucking absurd. This is fucking unreal. And it really shows, like, how the depths of how you're willing to go. Die with the lie, right? Let's watch that again. Instant replay.
That I said that the reason why Edmund Lamb killed Rachel is because Edmund wanted her to get an abortion. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never mentioned that in any video. I'm like, you guys have got some bad information. And I have seen people comment on social media saying these things. And I'm like, yeah, I've never said that in the videos. And it's almost like they're going to the negative part on social media, gathering information. And
no, it goes along with what I'm talking about. You don't have to say it to say it. And you know that. You know that. Like, you're good at that. You know how that works.
It's like they're accusing me of saying this stuff. I don't ever recall to this day ever coming out claiming that Edmund Lamb murdered Rachel. I've never, even in Ghost Chronicles, I was very careful about saying that. It's all what these spirits are saying.
Bullshit.
And I point these out in the videos. That's what these spirits are saying, that Edmund murdered Rachel. Rachel's claiming it. I've never come out and accused Edmund Lamb of murdering Rachel.
All right, get the fuck out of here with that. Get the fuck out of here with that. All right? Period. If you were in a fucking court of law and someone says, hey, and saying these things that you're saying, I'm saying, that, okay, you're out there saying that
Everybody say hi to
Edmund
Rage Quit. That's my
murdered
buddy
this girl.
Vinny.
And you come back with, I never said that. The spirits are saying that. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Fucking, do you expect people to take this seriously? This is a fucking joke. This is fucking absurd. This is fucking unreal. And it really shows like how the depths of how you're willing to go. Die with the lie, right? You're going to keep on with this bullshit and expect people to fucking believe it? I mean, obviously, there's a whole group of people here. Fuck Jimmy. They're trying to ride on your coattails. I can't. It's just fucking unbelievable. Yeah, these people, these fucking poor people that you have fucking swindled and are accusing me of being the snake oil salesman, right? You're brilliant there.
It puts the lotion on its skin.
Oh, my God. It's fucking incredible.
But they said I do. So I'm like, well, whatever. You can't get anywhere with these kind of people. You really can't. All right.
You're right. You can't get anywhere with these kind of people when you're talking bullshit like that. Fuck, man. You are a piece of work, man.
Then they go on to talk in that phone interview that Rachel Mitchell never existed, that it's a made-up character. I made her up. Once again, they missed the bus. All right. They missed Ghost Chronicles, where I talk explicitly about Rachel Mitchell. We even have a Mitchell descendant talking about
I saw
Rachel Mitchell that has the information about her. So what is the Rachel Mitchell descendant lying? I mean, are all these Mitchell descendants lying about Rachel?
Whoever this guy was, I don't know what you did as far as vetting him to make sure that he was related to these people that he says he is. That's not really up to me, I guess. I'm interested now to find out if this guy's actually related to him. But I watched that episode and he didn't have shit to say other than, that's, I mean, we don't really know a lot about her. And, he didn't give any information.
Okay. The guy that we're talking about here didn't give any information. From what I've come to understand, he's somebody that lives in the town. He's a meth head who, I don't know, Kent probably offered him $20 on a blowjob so that he could, get his rocks off and go get some meth. I don't know that for sure, but I have heard that the guy is not a reliable source of information. Was he at least cool up there? Like, no weird vibes when you guys were hanging out with him? Did all this defensiveness only come after your doc caught traction? Yes. He was cool. He was very cool with me. Yeah, I mean, there was none of this stuff going on. It was only after the documentary came out that he started acting a fool like this.
Nothing substantial whatsoever. Nothing.
The ghosts.
All right. Another thing they talk about is that Jimmy said that he called the Carmel, Maine Historical Society and talked with, and you know what? I wasn't even going to mention the guy's name publicly, but they're bringing his name up. They brought his name up in their documentaries, but they said they talked to Marvin. And I know exactly who Marvin is. And that Marvin told them, this is what they're claiming, that Edmund Lamb lived in this house, that this was never a funeral home. And they're saying that he said that I lied, that I'm a liar.
No, he never said that.
That's...
No, I never said that ever. So shut the fuck up about that. I never said that Marvin said you were a liar. Okay? At all. Anyway.
I need to address what Jay's asking me here. Why give this guy the time of your life? It's all he wants to keep him relevant. Okay. He does not want the relevance that I'm giving him. Yeah. he does not want this. He don't want these fucking hands, y'all. Right? He's not benefiting from my documentary. Plus, this guy's been a big part of my life for the last 4 fucking years, and it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So I understand on your end of it. It's like, well, fuck this guy, you know. But and you're right, fuck this guy. But fuck this guy publicly. Everyone to see. I want everyone to see the anal sex. All of you.
Marvin is in the next episode saying that that house was never used as a funeral home because there wasn't a funeral home back then. When you died, you had the funeral at their house. Okay? Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that he's going to say something about that here in a minute. Marvin is 90 years old in February of 2024. It's now, it's December 31st, 2023.
Okay.
So he's 89 years old, whatever. He's from Carmel. He's lived in Carmel his whole life. Okay. He was a veteran. He was in the Air Force. And his wife was the historian. They put together the Historic Society there in Carmel. They put it together. Okay. If anybody is qualified to talk about this stuff, it's him. He knew the Mitchells. He lived next door to some of the sisters. Okay. But he never said that you were a liar because I didn't ask him about you. It's not all about you. No, I didn't ask him about you at all. I asked about Edmund Lamb. I asked about who Marvin was. I asked about the Lamb House. I asked about those things. I didn't talk about Kent Burris to Marvin, okay? The fact that you're saying that Marvin isn't qualified to talk about these things is absurd. He put together that place. He's no longer the historian or treasurer. I know that, but I mean, he worked there for 30 years, every day for 30 years, every single day for 30 years. And you're going to try and pull the wool over these people's eyes and say that he's not qualified to answer these questions. You can get fucked.
Remember back in the days in the videos that I said it's possible that Edmund stored bodies up in the garage?
Oh, now it was the garage. Okay. Well, in my God damn, I hate having to fucking pause this every 2 seconds. But in my visit, it was storing 2 bodies in your basement. And I have you on film saying that. So talk your way out of that one.
You know, because there was no place to store bodies during the winter season. I don't know if you guys remember how I've said that.
Doesn't matter.
Do you know where I got that idea from? Was from Marvin. Marvin pretty much gave me that idea that it's possible that that's where the bodies were stored, because Marvin said there was no body vault in Carmel and he couldn't store the bodies anywhere in Carmel, so there wasn't one. So the idea of the garage came up and he said that's probably where he kept them. So what do? I'm like, wow. So Marvin says that it's a possibility that Edmund kept the bodies in the upstairs garage because there's nowhere else to take them.
So what
do? I put that in the video. But what do I find out later on? I find the body vault at Highland Cemetery. So there was a winter body vault, but okay. Marvin told me there wasn't.
Okay.
And I also got some other bad information that, that I had to fix things in videos. That was bad information. Marvin is not Carmel, Maine's Historical Society historian. He doesn't know enough to give information, but they interviewed him, and what Marvin is telling them, they take as fact, and you know, they don't do research. They have an agenda to find
That is
anything.
research. Listen, if I'm reaching out to these people, that's research. That's what that is. You're saying I don't do research, yet you're saying I talk to Marvin. I'm not trying. Listen, I'm asking these people because I was directed towards them. All right. I'm all the way out in Indiana. Okay. I called. I didn't ask David or Marvin, or I'm sorry, David or Ben for this information. I just found the number for the Historical Society. I called it, and I spoke with Marvin. Okay. I asked, I asked all the right questions. Are you the historian? Well, I'm not anymore, but I mean, what is it you want to know? Okay. Well, how long were you working there? Well, 30 years. Okay. That's good enough, I guess. So I'll talk to you. You say it's not research. I don't know what else you'd call that. If it's bad information like you say it is, then okay. I'll look into it again. I'll find this Ralph guy and I'll speak with him about it.
To try to point me out to look like a liar. And as soon as they find something, they jump all over that. But I can assure you now that Marvin cannot give information that's credible enough to claim as fact. And I'm not saying that bad about Marvin because he flat out doesn't know. Okay, Marvin said that he knew Edmund Lamb. Mm-hmm. Marvin was a kid back when Edmund Lamb was alive. In fact, Marvin was just a kid, maybe a teenager when Edmund Lamb died. Right. But Marvin was not around anywhere when Edmund Lamb was the Undertaker. Marvin wasn't even born yet. Marvin wasn't born until after Edmund Lamb retired. So he wouldn't have firsthand information about, whether this house was a funeral home or not.
Just because Marvin wasn't born when Edmund Lamb was the active Undertaker doesn't mean that he can't get the information, right? Ralph surely wasn't born when Edmund Lamb was the Undertaker. So why is his word gospel? You weren't alive when Edmund Lamb's kids were 20 years old. You weren't born yet. Okay? So that argument is bullshit. If you do your research, you find out things. That's all it takes, is to do research, like I'm doing. Stupid argument.
When I first talked about this house being a funeral home in the videos, this was based on information that was provided to me by a couple of older Carmel residents. The owner of the house, wife, did tell me that this was the morgue. And I said, what do you mean the morgue? She said, the funeral home. And I'm like, really? Seriously? She goes, yeah, that was the funeral home. And then I'd ask somebody else and they confirmed it, that this was the funeral home.
Well, who was somebody else?
I kind of mentioned it in one of the videos, what was said, but I needed concrete proof that this was in fact a funeral home.
Okay.
So it took a lot of research and talking with other people. Now, there's a lot of people that claim that it was a funeral home. There's some that say it wasn't. Now, David Sear on Hoax of Carmel, Maine tells everybody that this wasn't a funeral home. That was a lie, that Edmund ran his undertaking business out of the store. And that's where, and all funerals were done inside people's homes the funerals were done inside people's homes. And that Marvin Graves told him the same thing. All funerals were done inside people's homes.
Yeah.
That, there was no funeral home.
Oh, let's hear it. Say it.
People knew from information passed down that this was the funeral home. And when the owner of the house passes that information to me, I mean, that's pretty strong information. So I had to prove it. I had to prove this was a funeral home.
Okay, you didn't say it.
Well,
that's fine. Good.
The problem is doing extensive research. And there's somebody else. Ralph said, what was wrong, Sherry?
There's somebody in the comments saying that Ralph said that was wrong, that it was that they never held funerals in their homes. Okay, that's what Ralph said. Okay. So I guess when Marvin went to funerals in people's homes, because that's how they did it. I mean, I know you're not saying it, but I'm seeing that Ralph said this, said that it was wrong. But I've got Marvin telling me that when he was little, when he was a boy and he went to funerals, that they had the funeral at the home where they died, that he was just making shit up. I guess Marvin was lying, because Marvin must have never went to any funerals in Maine, in Carmel, in people's homes.
Parlors or funeral living rooms in the videos. You know, I don't believe that they ever held funeral services in this house. I don't believe that, because, and I've never said that they've held funeral services in this house, but I do believe, based on the evidence that we've come across, that this is where bodies were prepared for the dead and placed in the caskets and possibly used for viewing. And it's likely that.
Did you catch that? I never said that they had funeral services here, yet this was the funeral home. I swear to God it was.
You know, funerals were held either in the churches, schoolhouses, or even at people's homes is where they held the services. But that, what? Hold on a second.
I would love that, Autumn.
Okay.
I challenge him.
One of the main things that stood out to me.
I challenge him to come on to End of the Night.
Was one, the concrete
He'll
basement and the basement floor.
Okay.
And
we're going to talk about that now.
One of the funeral directors out of Newport said that, oh yeah, that was definitely the prep room, the way the basement's designed and the way everything, the floors designed were, you know, if any embalming are done or blood is on the floor, they could wash it down. There's a drain. He goes, that's set up just like for an undertaker or a mortician. He goes, it's definitely a classic sign. That's what this is used for. Now, they bring up in that conversation that I said that the box down in the basement was a crematory. I did mention that in the video. I don't deny that, but I wasn't sure what it was. This was based on somebody that knew engineering standing there in the basement telling me, oh yeah, this was a crematory.
Okay.
You know, and I mentioned it's a possibility, but I wasn't 100% convinced that was a crematory myself.
All right. You all heard him just there. You heard him say it, right? You just heard him say, I wasn't convinced that it was a crematory, right?
Of Kent's house. And I noticed this little area in the back corner underneath of the stairs.
What was this area used for, you think?
Well, you thought it was a crematory, but it turns out it was actually the vault where you can store two bodies.
Huh.
For wintertime.
Right. Self-refrigerated.
It was actually built as a crematory, though.
Really?
I mean, because I looked it up and it was perfect. It's the exact designs for crematories that were designed in the late 1800s.
Right.
Now, whether he actually used it or not, I don't know.
Okay. You just heard it right there. He looked it up, and it was actually built as a crematory. It's exactly what he just said. That's exactly what he just said. You heard it. His mouth. He said it. Now, what did he just say before that?
Possibility, but I wasn't 100% convinced that was a crematory myself.
Yeah? You seemed pretty convinced when you told me what it was. So, what happened? What happened? You looked it up. You said that. You said it.
It was the spirits that said
You looked it up. And you found out that it was the exact specifications for a crematory. Get the fuck out of here. You're full of shit. And I've caught you
This is aggravating. It is aggravating, and
Certainly
there's
is.
a lot of stuff they're saying, a lot of stuff that they're talking about that I'm not even going to bother watching it. I'm not going to get involved with this documentary. To me, it's nothing but garbage. And they want me involved with the garbage, and I do not get involved with drama garbage on social media.
But here's the thing, man. It's not about drama. You keep saying it's about drama, and you're trying to spin it that it's about drama, and it's not. It's, if you can confirm these things, this is what I'm being told. What information do you have? And not just word of mouth. What information do you have that is on record that backs up these things you're saying? That's all I'm asking you to produce. That's it. And it seems that you can't do that. And therefore, you don't want to be a part of it because you can't back up any of your evidence that says otherwise against these allegations that other people or this other information that speaks to the contrary. That's why you don't want anything to do with it. And that's what I meant when I said, if you don't sit down and talk with me in an interview, it's not going to look good for you. You deserve the ability to speak on these topics and provide evidence that says, no, here is what I found out to be true. Here is the documentation that backs it up. You can't do that. It's not that you won't do it. It's that you can't. That's what I'm left with. Because I hear you jabbering a bunch about stuff and saying a bunch of things, but you've yet to provide any documentation in this live stream, in this video, that backs up the things you're saying. You're just talking.
I just don't do it. I'm not a part of it, and I don't want to be a part of it. And I never ever come out on social media, bringing drama to people. It's not worth the effort. It's a waste of time. And I try to live a peaceful life as much as I can, and I stay out of the drama.
Isn't that what you're doing right now? Isn't that what this video is? You never, ever, ever go on social media and talk about the drama or get engaged with the drama. Yet I have video evidence that says otherwise. I mean, you're right here doing it.
In
Send me those pictures.
telephone conversation that he believes that I'm setting up a lamp and putting a doll in front of the lamp, making shadows on the wall, and then I move it really fast to make the shadow disappear. That's what he believes that I'm doing and how I'm faking this stuff.
Well, no. There is a video that if I were to do it, that's what I would try. You take a magnifying glass and you put a doll in front of a light, and then you put the magnifying glass in front of that doll, and it would project this doll's image, or the shadow of it, kind of clearly. That's something that I would try. Now, I said I don't know if that's what he's doing. I wonder if you did that. I don't believe you did that. That's just a thought. Like, if I were to fake this, how would I do it? Okay. No, the other shadow apparitions, the ones that got me interested and got everybody interested in your channel, I know exactly how you did that. And I'll get to that. Not in this, but that'll come out.
And for them to come out and say, oh, this is all fake and he's making this stuff up.
It's like this. You've got stuff going on in that house. You had paranormal investigators come out to that house before you ever had a YouTube channel. Okay. That alone tells me that you have stuff going on. Because if you were just going to hoax the whole thing altogether, you would just start hoaxing. You wouldn't have people come over to your house. Okay.
See wisdom.
You wouldn't have people come over to your house unless you knew that they would experience stuff. Right? But that's an excellent excellent screen to hide behind in an effort to gain more views. You have fabricated, I know at least 2 videos that are fabricated. There's more. There's a few more. But that'll just be in the documentary. That'll be in episode 2. And I'll show how you did it. And it's going to look exactly like your video. I know how you did it. I know it. And the thing is, you have real things going on, but you are trying to get as many people over to your channel as possible to gain the interest, and the regular old videos weren't sexy enough. So, hey, maybe let's make a shadow figure video. And I'm willing to believe that you actually have seen shadow figures in your house. I'm willing to believe that at least once you've seen shadow figures in your house and you didn't have a camera, and so you recreated what you saw. I'm willing to say that I'm giving you that. You fake evidence because you know you have real things going on at your house, and that if people come out there, they're going to experience things, and then they're going to talk about it, and it's just going to do this snowball effect because people are going to find things at your house. You know they will. And that's you can fake things, and then you can turn around and say, why would I fake things? Why would I have people come into my house if I were faking things? That's stupid, right? But it's not stupid because you have real things going on. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in your life. Again, I've got your number, and you know I've got your number.
If somebody tells me that, for instance, oh yeah, this was a funeral home, and then somebody else tells me the same thing that doesn't know that person, and then another person tells me the same thing, when you get enough witnesses together, you know, I believe that's pretty solid information. But
well, okay, but on the other side of that coin, let's see here. When I was a kid in high school, I wore a lot of black. I was a metalhead, right? And there was a rumor, because of where I live, that I was a Satan worshiper. Okay? I don't know where that came from. Not true whatsoever. I wholeheartedly believe in Jesus Christ and God. I mean, I believe in Satan too, but I do not follow, I'm not a follower. But anyway, this person, I heard you were a Satan worshiper. This person who doesn't know this person, I heard you were a Satan worshiper. Hey, I heard you were a Satan worshiper. I'm getting all this from all these different people who don't talk to each other. They just heard it. Okay? That's called rumor. So, what you're saying is the house is rumored to be the funeral home. You've yet to provide any evidence that supports that it was the funeral home. No documented proof. And you say, it's hard to get. I don't buy it. Okay? I don't buy it. I don't care how old it is. The records would be there. Somebody, somewhere, somehow, town manager, historical society, fucking someplace legit is going to have records that specify where the funeral home was, if there was one in that town, and from what year to what year. It's going to be there. If there's record, if it happened, there's records of it. Okay? You're basing your story on rumors. You have yet to provide evidence that supports any kind of documentation that this house was the funeral home. All right, sorry that was such a long video. I'm so sorry, as a matter of fact, that I'm here adding more time to it. Yeah, so this whole video originally in its entirety from start to finish was like 5 hours long, and I'm not going to subject anybody to that, so I whittled it down to the important parts that I felt needed to be elaborated on. And you know, it's just what it is, I guess. You know, I've extended my hand to him to I gave every chance I possibly could to help make this guy, his argument, stand out, and help him by having supporting people who supported him to help to talk about him and their relationship with him and stuff like that. I threw him a bone in so many ways, and he's refusing it. He's refusing it, and you know, he's not. I personally don't think he's thinking clearly on it, because he's only thinking about it as far as what his viewers see and know. He's not thinking about people seeing this. It's as if he thinks the only people that are watching my documentary are people who knows who he is, and that's just not true. You know, there are going to be plenty of people who see this who have never heard of him, never heard of me, and those people are going to go check out his channel. You know, this is only going to boost his views if it ever does anything. I'm not saying it's going to, but it's, you know, it's definitely a way that's going to drive traffic over to his channel. I mean, I link his channel on my channel, you know, I'm promoting him too. So he's just looking at this very one-sidedly, and it's unfortunate. But I think this video has definitely gone on long enough. I haven't time for this. I've got to get the next episode finished, and then I've got to make a theater cut for the theater showing that's happening in January. And then, well, it is January. But anyway, yeah, I thought that the first drama video was going to be it. And unless anything changes on his end, I'm pretty much just going to let the documentary speak for itself at this point. If he has anything to add or anything worth talking about, he should talk about it with me, you know, in person, since I'm going to be there in January. Why not? You know, I'll bring all my stuff. I'll sit down with him. I'm not scared to do it. I want him to be able to get past his own horse shit and sit down and talk with me. But we all know that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's just not going to do it because he can't. He can't provide anything substantial. So it's not my fault if he ends up looking the way he does in the documentary. It's not. It's just, this is how it's panned out. That's what a documentary is. You show what happened. So nothing else I can do. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm sorry if this isn't your kind of thing. Believe me, it's not my kind of thing either. I don't want to do anything else like this. So please don't unsubscribe. Just, these are things that I felt needed to be addressed. But thanks again, everybody. And I hope to see you in Maine at that theater. And if I don't, then January 14th, episode 2. Well, there it was. There it was. So now you all have a little bit more insight as to what kind of person the guy is. Bypassed me. I will, Autumn. I will come out. I will say hi. We're gonna, as soon as episode 3's out, we're gonna try and do a marathon
where not I'm running marathon because I'll fail, but like where we get into the theater in parts 1, 2, and 3 will be viewed in a theater out there. We're still trying to get more theater showings. I might even do like an actual theater cut that's kind of whittled down, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'll probably come back out to Maine sometime. I love it there. Super dope. Nice place. I have great friends there. Yeah. Julie, late to the party, darling. Kent Burris. So when this is done, you can rewatch. You could do a team rewatch if you want to. Kent was basically protesting the documentary and was spreading lies about me and how I approached him and all this other nonsense. So, yeah, if you wanna rewatch it, I'll leave it up. Yeah. So I appreciate y'all dropping in. I know that other people are going live here probably in a little bit, and I just wanted to get this done before anybody else was going live. You know, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. So thank you, Miss Jackie. I appreciate that very much. I really do. I'm trying to find the truth, and some people don't want that to happen. So try and stop me all you want, but the truth will always come out, whether I put it out there or somebody else does. But it's looking like I was the man for the job. I didn't ask for this. All I wanted to do was make a documentary that was going to be cool and hopefully had really compelling evidence and all this. But the compelling evidence I found is not necessarily advocating for spirits, but advocating for bullshitters. Bunch of bullshit. So, what can you do? These are the cards that I was given. And I have played my cards, but a good card player always has one card they have yet to show. And I will play that card very soon. Thank you, Wayne Dawson, for the £3. Fucking love you. All of you. Everybody, who's all in here? Who's all in here that I can see? Who are the participants of the chat? Well, show it to me. For crying out loud. It's not, but you know who you are. We've got Candy, we've got Michael Burkeen, we've got Janice Cramer, we've got Stay Tuned, we've got Miss Jackie, we've got Jethro, we've got Wayne Dawson, we've got Rob Linklater, Giselle, Horror of Horror, Julie R. Here they come. Now they're piling in. Autumn LaChance. Did I miss anybody? Wayne, Teshi, Stay Tuned, Rob, Miss Jackie, Michael Burkeen, Julie R., Jethro, Janice, Horror of Horror, Giselle, Cheryl King, Candy 7, and Autumn LaChance. Thank you all for participating in the chat and for supporting me and standing behind me. Yeah, Debunk the Junk, there you are. You beautiful bastard. Who else? Well, I got other people popping in. Where are you? Mr. Spookfest, Senior Spookfest, the Fest of Spooks, Ghost Festival. Yeah, y'all are great. And I couldn't do any of this without y'all, I appreciate y'all so much. Damn fly. Did I catch that? I did. I caught that son of a bitch. And now he's dead. Ha! All right. I'll see y'all on That's okay to say. I will see you all on Tuesday. I don't know who I'm interviewing yet. I haven't organized that. I have a thought. I did ask Mrs. Geek if she'd like to come on. So I don't know if that'll happen on Tuesday or not because the time differences and stuff. So that would be fun. I'd like to get her on and sit down with her and talk to her because she doesn't do stuff like that. So that could be cool. If not, perhaps Steve from Nocturnal Frequency will come. There's people I can ask. So anyway, Tuesday, I will see you all. Same bat channel, same bat time. And yeah. It's been fun, guys. Have a good afternoon. And I think Dawson will be live or is live now. So if you go over to Dawson's, tell him that I sent you there. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.